with the gentleman. We need to do a deep dive on that, so, see what we can do to improve this immediately. Next, Mr. Diaz-Balart.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Before my question, Mr. Secretary, you mentioned Southcom a little while ago, and one of the things that is crucial to them is the security cooperation agreement, something that I've been very supportive of. There's $200 million there, and I just want to make sure that it's on your radar, because it's $200 million for Southcom and AFRICOM, and I just want to make sure that in a region that is, not many good things are happening in this region right now, in this hemisphere, that Southcom has the resources it needs. And as you well know, Southcom not only does, kind of like mission, but they also literally are saving American lives through their interdiction program. So I just wanted to flag that for you, and if you could take a look at it to make sure that it doesn't fall through the cracks and that Southcom is not kind of ignored there. I would appreciate that. Chairman Milley, as you know, there's been a lot of conversation about this potential legislation to auction off the lower 3 gigahertz spectrum band, which obviously the D.O.D. uses for, important missions. And Secretary Austin and the Commerce Secretary sent a letter endorsing this agreement, while the Director of Joint Staff signed a formal non-concur memo. So, Mr. Chairman, what, in your view, what is your view about potentially vacating this spectrum, and what risks potentially could it pose to national security, if any?
Hey, sir, I just want to make sure that where we are with this is understood. I convey where we are in terms of what we've done. First of all, I support sharing the spectrum, pieces of the spectrum where appropriate. I do not support putting our national security at risk. And to your point, there are platforms and capabilities that we use and we need that employ pieces of that spectrum. And so what we're doing now is that we're conducting a study to make sure that we account for everything. And once that study is done, then we'll make a recommendation to the president. But just to be clear, I have not agreed to auction off that piece of the spectrum that we need to effectively protect the homeland or conduct our operations altogether.
And I don't know if, Mr. Chairman, you want to address the potential risk, if there is any?
Yeah, there is risk. First of all, I'm waiting of the memorandums that you mentioned. I concur that we need to wait until there's a study complete, which is due in September. And therefore, you make a fully informed decision. Making a decision right this second is probably not a good idea. And I concur that it needs to be shared. Sure, no problem sharing. The issue is how to do that. And we need to do that in a way that doesn't jeopardize national security. And what we can't do is vacate the spectrum. Sharing it, fair enough, if we can figure out a way to do that correctly without placing national security at risk. If we were to vacate it, if we were to give up that piece of the spectrum, it would have a significant, huge impact on our ability to protect North America, our ability to protect the Pacific or Europe or anywhere else. That is the part of the spectrum that we use for radars and communications and our ships and navigation and so on and so forth. So it wouldn't be good if we didn't have access to that part of the spectrum. So there's a study ongoing. That study's due in September. I would caution everybody, just wait until the study's done and then move out. Second point is, when that study's complete, I or whomever is the chairman at the time are required to render, or our recommendation was to the secretary, and he agrees with it, is that the secretary and I make an independent recommendation in writing to the president so he can make an informed decision. And I think that's the proper way to head.
Good. No, I appreciate that. And I don't have a lot of time, so I don't know if I'm going to get an answer on this. But obviously, I think it's important to defeat Putin in the Ukraine. But as the chairman said, the days of blank checks are over. And so I think one of the things that would be helpful is if we knew what the strategic end state is in Ukraine. And if not a lot of time, but it would be helpful.
The president was very clear, actually, with the strategic end state at the very beginning of this thing. He said it to myself and Secretary Austin and many others. He's also said it many, many times in public forums and in speeches. It's very clear. The strategic end state is the global rules-based international order that was put in place in 1945 is upheld. How do you do that? How do you know you've achieved that end state? You achieve that end state when Ukraine remains a free, sovereign, independent country with the territory intact. And then you know the rules base was upheld. If that rules base order, which is in its 80th year, if that goes out the window, then be very careful. We'll be doubling our defense budgets at that point because that will introduce not an era of great power competition, that'll begin an era of great power conflict. And that'll be extraordinarily dangerous for the whole world. Ukraine is a fight for Ukraine that's existential for Ukraine, but for the rest of us, it's a much bigger and important national interest that's fundamental to the United States, to Europe, and global security.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications so every time I put out a video, you can know about it. It'll come up in your feed. Hit that like button if you liked it. And be positive. Peace.